All right, let's do some hip mobility, get loose. Starting with that right hip, working on external rotation. Big arcs. For those first few rolls, just focus on making the circle a circle. Once it has all those important roundness qualities, add in the foot grab first. And again, it's not a death grip on the carpet. It's just enough of a foot grab that you can feel the muscles of the lower leg begin to engage. And those are important because without those, it's hard to carry that connection to the ground up into the middle and finally into the arms. From there, the umbilicus draws to the back. Between that foot grab and that umbilical draw, it becomes possible to feel that rotation coiling through the muscles of the torso. Lastly, that head neck lift, giving that stretch a place to continue on, up, and through. Changing legs. Again, starting with the shape. Once the shape is feeling good, adding in that foot grab. And take some time with just that foot grab. Feel how that affects the characteristics of the movement, how it changes that feel in your body. Then belly draws to spine. Nope, no one else is lost. That's good. And finally, that head neck lift. So all of that movement around the foot can begin to get felt in the torso and lifted up and through. And from here, figure eights. Starting with the shape. Then the grab with feet. The belly draw to maintain that pelvic angle. So the belly draw is so important. Without it, the hips tend to get lost. With it, you can carry a movement from the lower extremities all the way to the upper. And lastly, that head neck lift. Making sure there's still a complete circle on each side of this rotation. Good, back to that middle. Returning to our first leg, internal rotation. Again, first few seconds, focusing on just making that shape. The hardest part of internal, for me at least, is this part right here, that turn in as it connects around and back. Make sure that your hip has that second to draw into the middle before it arcs around behind. Adding in those three postural elements, starting with the feet as soon as you feel ready to do so. Changing legs. Again, making sure it's complete shape first. From there, feet, belly, and neck. Going into figure eights. complete circles. As I draw back, I pull from hip to hip, round to round. Coming back to the middle, shake it out for just a second. We're going to play a little bit with our lion holds ball, starting with rolling the belly. Okay, we did a bunch of this in Tai Chi a few minutes ago. We're going to carry it on for a few minutes here and then go to stance and single. So as I draw around, notice how the heels of my hands are leading the way. They pull it up, they reach and draw, the hands pivot, space, and then things come together. Lots of space, things come together. Changing directions. Big circles. Keep playing with that for a moment. Very good. Okay, relaxing in the middle. So nextly, I roll. That front hip rolls up. As I round that hip, the hands come to the middle. They begin to draw to the opposite side. As I drill into that back leg, the arms are served. So if I do it more smoothly, all right, so let's give that a try together. Going this way, as I roll one, pulling the hip up, arms coil, round that front hip, hands come to the middle. I continue carrying that front hip back as I drill into the back leg, and that drill as it brings the hands up and over. Changing sides, roll, that front hip rounds, coming to the middle, the hands, drilling into that back leg as we serve. And again, round, hands to middle, drill into that back leg, and over. One, right hip rolls, left hip drills. Left hip rolls, right hip drills. And so just watch for a second. Notice how my hips are obviously moving a bunch, but there's also never a point when my hands stop moving. I don't coil the hips, wait, and then flick my arms, right? Everything is rolling together. The hip rounds, the arm rounds. The hip rolls, the arms create this circle. I drill into that back leg, pushing down and up simultaneously. That's that kind of action potential that throws the arms up and over. So again, together, roll, round, and throw. Roll, round, and throw. Back and forth, nice and slow. Continuing on your own. Good, good. And again, if you get lost in the beginning, focus on just the upper or the lower, right? So if in the beginning, my focus is my base, right? There's that external rotation, that internal rotation, and in this version, which is a rotation that breaks orbit into a coil, like a satellite kind of slingshotting around a planet. Right? We have that kind of constant arc, and then I find the tangent to that arc, and that becomes the potential energy for the 7-star Fa Li, which is kind of the cornerstone of all of Zhang Shuianshifu's Fa Li. And he, of course, saw Li Taiji, Xing Yi, and Liang Bagua master in Beijing, right? So again, from that constant round, then I find the tangent to that round, and there's the power for the movement. Good, about 10 more seconds of this, you're all doing great. Good, Elizabeth, a little less linear and a little more lifting a heavy thing and setting. Lift to set. There, keeping that roundness in the arms the whole time. Good, good. Remember, no movement's free, right? We pay for the coil, we pay for the movement. If I lose all the elasticity here, I have to move before I can move. If there's still some coil and that pulling that elastic movement through, I can carry that right into the other side and not have as much loss per side-to-side revolution. Very nice. Okay, everyone shake that off for a moment. Any questions thus far? It's looking really good.
This is making a lot more sense today.
Good, good. And again, just like I said in the Tai Chi class, if you practice the stuff repetitiously and, if you get the corrections as needed, it goes from being a completely nonsensical mess to a thing that you can utilize pretty effectively in a couple months. But it's tough, and I'm glad to see the overline we're getting there. I was concerned when we started this, it'd be hard to teach this stuff over a computer, but you're all making fabulous progress. It's looking really good, April. All right, let's do some stance in single leg. So make sure my feet are in frame, which is Trixie here. All right, we're gonna do the right leg first. And as we begin, the left foot is gonna come with the big toe right in the middle of the right foot. Okay, big toe touching the ground. From here, I'm gonna grab the ground with that right foot. My umbilicus is gonna draw slightly towards my back, and all it's gonna do is keep my pelvis in place. Again, I don't wanna hyper draw in the low back or tailbone. I just want a nice neutral spine. And that belly engagement stops from having a posterior pelvic tilt like this. I want everything nice here and comfortable. From there, raising the head and neck, drilling between the two arms, move to the side so I don't hit the beam in the top of my basement. That right hand, the top hand, is going palm away from the body, just as that left hand. I'm stretching through the fingertips, but I'm not letting that stretch pervert my posture, right? I want to make sure that this stretch is opening up the paraspinal muscles, particularly around that lumbar region. So I want to feel a stretch through here as I coil and reach away. Next, stepping with the toe foot, and then stepping with the foot that was on the ground flat. That right foot's now going to be on the heel, left foot is flat on the ground, both knees are straight. As I wrap my body around, pressing away from my spine with my right hand, bring my left hand under my right foot with the palm towards the ground, gently lifting up on the bottom of that right foot as I press away from my body. If this is too much of a stretch for you, take both the hands, middle fingers in line, and let them gently reach down the leg. If you get to a point that's kind of a limit of your flexibility, relax your breath, relax your pelvis, and let your shoulders hang. You can make it all the way into the hand and press away, that's great too. And hold. Okay, from here, the weight rolls onto that forward right foot. Drawing the belly to the spine, I'm gonna raise that left leg up. The left foot is parallel with the ground. Belly still drawing in. actively raising that knee to engage the psoas as the arms unfold and hold. So you'll see a little better. As I pull that belly in, I want to make sure once more that as I raise that leg, it's those deep muscles, that psoas muscle, those deep stabilizing muscles I'm engaging, and not just using that back roll so I can use my quads to lift up. I want to make sure that the whole movement is coming from that belly. And hold. Very good, very good. Slight concavity in the chest, as though those long clavicle bones are knitting to the manubrium just a little. It changes the shoulder alignment from here to there. Not a big shift, but it gives that little bit of round that you can carry all the way out to the fingertips. From here, that raised foot comes over the knee, though not touching it. The arms coil in, like we're wrapping around a post. Still grabbing the ground, drawing the belly and raising the neck. That low right hand is reaching towards that left foot. I'm holding a pane of glass between the two hands. Still actively raising the knee. Still using that belly draw to maintain proper posture in the back. Keep holding. Good. Space in that downed armpit, just a little space. Very nice. That way you can breathe more easily. It also doesn't collapse the arms in, which is a habit we try to avoid from here. It's really hard for me to move out, especially with pressure. If I maintain that little bit of roundness, I have a lot more space to roll through. Next up, the raised foot comes across the down foot, making a figure four. Toes pulling up on that foot. As I sink down just a little, still drawing the belly to the spine, arms come out to hold. I want to sink down as far as I can without feeling I'm putting any of my joints in jeopardy. Okay, so I feel the quad engage. I don't want the quad to immediately burn. We're holding too long for that. If at any point you need to shake things out and relax a little bit, you are totally welcome to do so. This is a challenging little set. Fingertips rounding, clavicles still knitting. Keep holding. Good. Heavy elbows. The elbows are the heaviest joint on the three joints of the upper body. It's like you have a little bit of a weight hanging right from that olecranon, right? That little bit of elbow skin. From here, raise up a little. The foot comes behind the knee, right in that fossa, that little joint bendy bit. As I sink down, the hands pivot, palms away. Belly is still drawing, head, neck is still raising. The circle in the arms is still maintained. Keep holding. Very good. Rounding the chest, Elizabeth, creating space through the shoulders. Good, Galen. Let the fingers rotate in a little more. Nice, Marcos. It's looking good. Very good, Elizabeth and Sarah and Kara. Okay, next two. I'm going to go sideways and kind of running out of room here. Drawing the hands and the left leg up. As I lean back, I'm bringing the shoulders behind the line of my hips. From here, I grab the ground with the feet a little. It's okay for that base leg to bend a bit. I want to stretch up and reach out evenly with the hands and the foot. As I reach full extension, I want to use the weight of those hands, drawing back to open my spine, to give me more space and help me to raise that leg a little higher, okay? Again, from the front, I find that balance, slowly extending until I find full extension. Maintain that hold for a few more seconds. Good, Elizabeth. Pushing back with that palm of the hand. Let that weight carry your body open. Very good. That's much better. Very nice. From here, drawing everything back to neutral. And now I'm going to lean forward. As I do so, I'm going to draw the umbilicus to the spine. I'm going to try to keep the pelvis square and not let it list one side or the other. As I grab the ground, straight leg, pressing through. Fingertips reaching up to the ceiling. Toe of the left leg pointed down to the ground. Back is flat like a table. Eyes looking forward. And hold. Very nice. Keep on trying to actively raise that back leg. Good. Good, Caro. Very good. Challenging that hip. That's nice. Good extension, Marcos. That's great. Listing side to side is normal. It's part of the process of this one. Eventually, this form gets everybody. Okay, from our extension, drawing up, relaxing down, shake it out for a moment. Are there any questions about this set before we do the second side? All right, maybe a quick sip of water and we will continue. Other water. Okay, same on the B side. Left foot is now the foot on the ground. Right foot comes big toe to the middle of the left. Belly draw to back, concaving the chest, and drill. And both palms are pressing away from the body. Using that reach to open up those paraspinal muscles, particularly around that low back lumbar region. As always, foot grabs the ground, belly draws to the back, head and neck at the occiput, the back of the head, very gently raises towards the ceiling. There's space in my armpits. I don't want to collapse all the way in. From here, stepping with the right foot, and then stepping through with the left foot, both legs straight, left foot is on the heel. I switch arms, left hand comes behind my back, pushing away from the mid-men area, from that lumbar. Right hand comes underneath the foot, palm facing to the ground, gently lifting up on the foot with the back of the hand to deepen the stretch. I can't make it to there. It's entirely okay to line those middle fingers up. Let the weight carry you as far down the leg as you can comfortably go. Relax your breath and hang at the waist, gently working on the flexibility. The weight rolls forward, and the left foot comes flat to the ground, grabbing the ground, drawing the belly to the spine as we raise that right leg with that right foot parallel to the ground. Slight concavity in the chest as the arms open. That concavity again is achieved by knitting those clavicles together, which creates a roundness that draws all the way from the center to the fingertips. Belly to the spine so you can better utilize the psoas, that leg lift. Every couple breaths, raise that knee as high as you can, and then try to hold it. And continue. Good, stretching those fingertips. There's a slight space between the fingers. They're not here. Open just enough that I can feel each of those joints stretching away as I hold. Good. And again, if you need to shake this off at any time, you are totally welcome to do so. From here, That right foot comes over the knee, though not resting on it or touching it. I'm still actively raising the hip as the arms round and coil in like I'm wrapping them around a post, and also holding a pane of glass. There's a lot going on here. The left hand is reaching towards that right foot. Right hand is center line, right above the forehead, extending out. Space in the armpits, of course, along with foot grab, belly draw, and neck raise. Keep holding. Very nice. Wrapping and stretching. Drawing in, pulling out. And all that movement becomes centered in the middle, stretching through that Dantian space. From here, that right raised leg comes across the down left foot. The toes of this foot pull up towards the shin to protect the knee. As we sink down, the arms raise, the elbow being the heaviest and lowest of the three arm joints. Chest is still concave, foot still grabbing the ground, belly is still drawing the spine, and neck is still lifting towards the ceiling. Good. Keep holding. Awesome. Everyone's doing better with those elbows. Remember, especially these rounding positions, we want to feel a little bit of space right here. This pectoralis minor muscle comes through and inserts into the shoulder, okay? So as we round that chest, there's a bit of a vacuity here as we coil and draw through. That vacuity allows us to better use the lats, the paraspinal muscles, and the deeper abdominal muscles. From here, raising up, bringing that foot right into that fossa, that groove of the knee. As I sink down, the hands rotate palm away from the body and press gently from the belly, like the belly's projecting out. Notice how I'm not hyperextending the elbows. It's just a circle made oval from the pressure, very slight oval. Elbows are still the heaviest joint. And keep holding. Good, slight space between the hands, like the fingers are trying to draw towards each other. Very nice. Good, Marcos. Excellent, Derek. Keep playing with that balance. Falling over is the best way to make balance better. From here, drawing the hands and foot up. Take a second to find that balance, bringing the shoulders behind the hips. That support leg can bend a little. Drawing the belly towards the spine as I stretch back and out. Once I achieve this base position, I use the weight of the hands to pull and open the arms and shoulders and chest and belly and back and help me to raise that front leg. The more I can relax with that weight, the better it can translate through my body and the more lift I can get in that front leg. Again, for this one, knee bend is fine. For floating iron plank, for our next set, on cold duck, we want that leg straight. Keep holding. Good. Nice work, nice balance, everybody. Lastly, drawing back in, belly to spine, keeping those hips nice and square, reaching the palms forward and the heel away from the body as we evenly press forward and back in our Star Wars trash compactor, or in Chinese, the cold duck floating on the icy pond. Fingertips reach to the ceiling, toes reach to the floor. Continuously pressing through the heel and what would be the heel of the palms as the eyes look forward. Actively raising that back leg, Good. Using that leg to counterbalance, losing your balance here is fine, encouraged, and necessary. It's part of the process of finding instabilities in the hips that we can later on correct. If your body's always lifting to the side, you want to work on going more slowly into the posture so you can maintain that belly draw and not skip over any regions of the stomach as we push forward and back. Good. Coming to the middle and relax, but we're not done yet. We're gonna do one more thing with this. It's a little evil, but it's very good for you, I promise. Starting on that right leg, hands and foot up, reaching back and press. Drawing from the umbilicus, bringing the hands and foot up, forward and press. Drawing from the umbilicus, back. To center, forward. To center, back. To center, forward. Ow. See, everyone loses their balance eventually. To center, back, and relax. Shake that out. And the other leg. For our base, reaching back to center and forward. To center, back, center, forward, center, back, center, forward, center, and last one, back. That's right, Sarah, I'm the teacher. I can take breaks occasionally. Good, everyone. Shake it out for a moment. Very nice. That's the exercise that Master Ni taught me when I first learned this, when I was struggling with those last two postures, to kind of build that rotational ability in the belly and better strengthen that core for both of those postures for longer term holds. So it's a great little exercise to play with. Any questions on the stance and single leg before we move on? All right, quick sip of water and then the next. Okay. So before we get into stepping, just real quick, are there any aspects of Bagua stepping that are particularly challenging or aggravating for anyone here today? If not, I have my own list of things to go through, so I'll make sure that if anyone has questions, we have time to address them.
I can offer that I always have difficulty with belly engagement, so not leaving my butt behind.
It's tricky. We'll play with that today. Thank you, April.
You're not alone in that.
Was that Carol?
Oh, I just said you're not alone in that.
Bellies are fantastically tricksy parts of internal Kung Fu. Let's work on that basic positioning of the foot, and we'll bring the belly in real soon here, okay? So starting from the side, I'm just gonna walk the long way before we get into circles. As I begin, I'm gonna start with my feet to even, arms relaxed and heavy. I'm not gonna worry about anything above the umbilicus in the beginning. I'm just gonna try to focus on the legs and the hips, try to get those in line first, all right? Before I take my first step, I want to pour all of my weight across and into my right hip, filling that right hip and making it heavy. From there, I'm gonna raise the big toe of the left foot. I'm gonna lift it off the ground a couple centimeters and bring it forward just a little bit past the big toe of the right foot. As soon as that foot comes to the ground, it grabs the ground just a little bit. And here's that belly engagement comes in a big way on both Kara and April. As I pull the weight forward, which you can see, what I want to avoid doing is leaving my butt behind, right? I want to make sure there's enough belly engagement that I pull my hips along for the ride. If I leave my hips behind and bring my weight forward, essentially I'm jackknifing my weight through here. My base isn't coming with me. I don't have any way of controlling movement from that point on, right? If the belly's drawing in as I pull over that foot, you see how all of me shifts. From here, I release the big toe of the back foot. I pull from that inguinal groove, that little diagonal line in the hip, pulling the heel out of the ground. The feet come together. And now that right foot passes through. Very small step. I grab the ground, belly engaged, and that allows me to pull again that whole torso forward. Big toe of the back foot releases, pulling from that inguinal groove, not from the knee. I draw that foot up to even. The foot passes between the ankle bone and the arch of the foot, not touching the ground. Comes forward in parallel just a wee little bit, grabs the ground, pulls the weight. Now, from back weight to forward weighted, as I pull that weight, I also automatically pull from my umbilicus. So right here, this is where I know I'm in danger of losing that belly, right? And so I want that feeling like I'm about to do a sit-up, just a little bit of abdominal engagement as I pull that weight up and in, filling that front leg, release the big toe. And now that I'm pulling from the belly, it's that much easier to feel that back hip as I pull from the hip, bringing the feet together, stepping through, grab, pull with the belly, big toe releases, pulling those feet together, parallel to the ground, step through, grab, belly and leg engage and pull together. Big toe lifts in the back foot, feet come together, and stepping through. Everyone try that a couple of times while I watch. Very good, everybody. All right, so real quick before we move on, does this, just out of curiosity, April and Caro, does this help a little bit with what you were struggling with in terms of the belly component?
I mean, it's been a process. I think something that I was noticing is a good reminder to take my time when grabbing and then pouring the weight into the center of the foot. Mm-hmm. Especially when I'm like doing it in tighter circles here.
Right,
right. Maintains that stability, that draw.
Yeah. Circles make a big difference. I like to start in a straight line for stuff like this. Just because it's more challenging. You know, it takes me the variable in the circle to be really honest. With this.
Yeah.
Awesome. And again, this is how Jean, was back and forth in his training ground, doing the basic stuff. When that was smooth and consistent, then he would put us on a circle. And even still, it was a constant back and forth to make sure we didn't lose too many principles from a straight line onto the arc until the arc became comfortable, and then things kind of go to build and build from there. So any questions so far? All right, we started about 10 minutes late. If anyone needs to hop off, that's fine. I'm gonna teach 10 minutes late, so I'll make sure everyone gets their full hour. Is that cool? Yeah, awesome. Okay. So we have that basic pulling of weight, right? Now what we're gonna do is take it to arcing around a circle very gently. Right before we get into this, really quick, every school of Bagua has their own way of dealing with stepping. No one's really right, no one's really wrong. It's just what's internally consistent with the mechanics of that style. In the Chung system that I worked with for quite a while, the concern was keeping the back straight, the knee bent, there was a pull, a kicking under a pillow, grab, pull, kicking under a pillow for the very slow kind of foundational Jibun Gong stepping. In the Liang system, there's more of a focus played on keeping the legs relaxed and just gently pulling from the hip and stepping from the quad without jackknifing the knee. They're amazing Chung fighters, they're amazing Liang fighters. One style isn't right or wrong. Same with the yin and ma families. It's all good stuff if practiced, well. It's just a matter of picking which one you're going to do for each training session and being consistent with style as you work through the principles of that system. Make sense? Awesome. And today we're going to do Liang circle stepping. So find a middle point in your floor. With those feet together, the weight is going to pour, hey Sophie, into my left leg. I lift the big toe of the right foot and step out on a tangent of my circle. From here, I grab the ground, pull the weight and hip in, release the big toe of the back foot, pull the heel out of the mud, and from that touch, the foot comes out and arcs on a tangent to the circle. Grabbing the ground, pulling the weight forward, the belly with it, big toe lifts on the back foot, and as I draw that back foot, and notice how I'm not bending to the knee and collapsing, I'm pulling from that hip, drawing that foot up. It has the kind of feeling of a stomach crunch, like I'm pulling from those stomach muscles, drawing in, touching, arcing out, grabbing with the foot, pull, release the big toe, stepping from the hip, step, grab, pull, back big toe releases, feet come together. As I pass the camera so you can see, as I step, grab and pull, lots of engagement through here, no loss of my pelvis, big toe lifts my back foot, stepping from the hip. And continue nice and slow. Stepping out on a tangent of your circle, pull the weight onto that foot, feet touch, consolidate balance, step out on a tangent, grab, pull, stepping from the hip. And keep going for a moment here. Good. The arms can be just neutral at your side. They can be gently wrapped and holding chi palm, which is fine. Again, to achieve holding chi palm, belly draw, clavicle knit, head neck raise, arms round. I'm not trying to get the fingers right across each other. I'm rather trying to create a circle in my chest that extends to my fingertips. Okay, with that inside foot forward, I'm going to grab the ground with that foot. We're now going to change directions, okay? So again, that inside foot forward, I grab and pull, and I want to feel that back left hip arcing around before I ever lift the foot off the ground. Okay, I'm already feeling that kobu, feeling that turn in. As I raise that heel off the ground and pull the heel up, the foot just naturally steps, arcing and closing. Rounding into that back hip, the right leg releases, touches, steps out along the circle, grabs the ground, pulls the weight, big toe to the back foot releases, feet come together, and then away I go in the other direction. Whenever you change directions, especially when you're fairly new to Bagua, take your time. It's going to play games with your balance, okay? So give yourself a chance to adjust to a couple of really slow, smooth steps. As you begin to feel comfortable with the musculature you're using, you can generally increase the speed, all right? Good, remembering to use that belly as just a little bit of a prompt on each step. Reach, belly pull. Use that belly to pull that hip up. Always stepping from the hip, not from the knees. We like our knees. We want them to last for a good long time. As this becomes more comfortable, we start adding in other basic principles of Liang style stepping. The first one of which is we want to keep our weight to the inside aspect of the foot. Each step, I'm gonna face the camera for a second here, I don't want my weight to roll on that little toe side. See how my knee kind of gets in a weird angle there? I'm gonna make sure that weight stays tracking between the big toe and the second toe, right down the middle of what they call the liver channel in Chinese medicine, all right? So again, as I step through here, I'm pulling, the kneecap is tracking between those first two toes. I keep the weight on that arch side of the foot as I bring the feet together, stepping out, grabbing the ground, keeping the weight on that arch side. I'm never letting the foot do this as I bring the leg up. That's tough on the knee. I make sure the leg is stable. Balance on that inside of the foot on each step. And keep going. Good. If adding in that medial of the foot balancing point kind of throws your balance off, that's totally fine. Just slow down a little, try to find comfort with it, try to find ways of using the muscles in the foot a little bit more effectively, and then gradually build speed from there. If you want to make your stepping more fluid, the first thing is not to pause the feet together. Rather, just make sure the feet touch and step, touch and step. As you do that, check in to make sure you're not skipping any of the important components of circle walking. Make sure you're still grabbing with the foot, still engaging with the belly, still pulling the heel out of the ground with the hip, and still staying on the inside of the foot. If you find that walking more rapidly diminishes the quality of any of those base principles, I recommend just doing a few steps more rapidly, go back, slow down, work on the thing that you lose, gently build the speed back up there, and you just do that over and over and over again until fluid walking has all the qualities and is consistent with your slow stepping, okay? Remember, stepping takes time. In my first trip to Beijing, Shifu said that it would take me 10 years before I could step well. It took me about 6 to get to the point where I'm now, where he says my stepping is all right. So even with daily practice and hard work, this isn't an easy thing. And it's far better to progress in a complete way than have to go back and constantly add things in time after time. All right, about 30 more seconds of this. Making it back to the starting point of your circle. Raising. Relaxing the breath. Gently exhaling as the arms sink. The hands come over the dantian for more yang masculine energy, right over left. For more yang feminine energy, left over right. Either way is totally fine. Gently pressing on the belly as we slowly roll the dantian 3 times. And change directions. The arms relax. All right, great work, everybody, and welcome, Marcos. Does anyone have any questions or requests for future classes before we call it night?